I'm very excited to speak with Kabita Chakma, who's an independent researcher, writer, and architect. Writing in the Chakma, Bangla, and English languages, Kavita's research interests include history, literature, art, architecture, cinema, environmental sustainability, human rights, women's rights, and indigenous people's rights. She has had academic articles and journalism published in journals, newspapers, and book chapters. Her creative works include poems and short stories. She's had a book of poems written in Chakma and Bangla languages and translated into English. She recently translated a Bangla short story by Shaheen Akhtar, and she's currently working on a Chakma language historical fiction. So now with that out of the way, we can start talking. To start off, I have to confess that I am woefully ignorant about Chakma literature. Some of that is because I've been away from Bangladesh most of my adult life. Some because of the dominance of the idea that Bangladesh is a country with only one literature of significance, which is that in Bangla. But I am familiar with the fact that Bangladesh has more than 40 languages, Chakma being one of them. So before we begin discussing Chakma literature or other indigenous literature from Bangladesh, could you perhaps speak a little bit about your own writing? What kinds of writing do you do? What themes and subjects draw your interest?
I primarily started writing poems. And I remember in my grade 6, I think, I wrote a couple of Bangla poems. And they were about, like Amar Desh, my country, kind of things. And it was actually, I was very inspired by my Bangla teacher in grade 6. He was a mullah sir we used to call, and in white Punjabi and white, white shalwar kind of thing and a cap. And very affectionate with a big beard, very affectionate. And he used to like my writings, I think, because we didn't have that time, like going to teachers or anything, just write on your own, anything about Bangla, all these studies we used to do. And yeah, I think I started that way. So, but it didn't continue long because we moved from that town. It's a southern town of Chittagong Hill Tracts, Bandarbon. It's very beautiful, picturesque town. Then we moved to Rangamati from there. So, and there was a halt, and I didn't write for a long time. Then started writing in, I think, when a newspaper came to Rangamati. We didn't have any literary newspaper for a long time, except some little magazines, this indigenous youth used to produce on their own in April New Year. Mm-hmm. But we were too young to be asked to participate in writing, so didn't have a chance. Then started writing in this newspaper called Weekly Saptahik Bonobhumi, Weekly Bonobhumi. It came in 1978, and I think in 1979, started writing in that magazine. Sent them in by post, whether they print it or not, and it ended up printing. I think they didn't have many writers, so yes, so that way
this was both poems and short stories at that point.
Yes, yeah. I think mostly poems, for quite a long time, and I did short stories for probably in school magazines. Yeah, short stories, and
so when did you write your book of poems?
Quite a long time ago now, in 1992.
Okay.
Yes.
When you were still in Rangamati?
No, I actually finished my bachelor studies, from BUET.
Oh, you went to architecture in
yes, Bangladesh University of Engineering Technology. At that time, we used to write in BUET magazines, like kind of things, and also in CHT magazines. Because locally comes out in every new year time, in April New Year time, that's the New Year. as well, like Bangladesh's New Year. And those are the, like writing very small, in a very small way, I guess. Yeah. And in 1992, yeah, I did it in 1991, that book. When
And this was in Bangla and Chakma.
Yes, yes. I came to, by 1990, I came to study in Sydney University, architecture. And that was my first trip to do some research. I did my master's by research in architecture. So went back to Bangladesh to do my research. And that time, I was also doing some activism work for CHT, Chittagong Hill Tracts campaign, and also for women's rights. So got introduced with many women rights activists in Bangladesh. And Nari Grantha Pravartana is one of the publishers, like they were interested in my poems. So I just collected the work I did earlier, some of them, and I didn't have time actually. It's my research time and very limited. So I just, some of them were in Chakma, so I translated them in Bangla, and some were them in Bangla, did in Chakma, and wrote some couple of new, and just gave the script to them and left. And it was supposed to come out in that year, but it didn't. But then it came out in 1992. Yes. And I didn't even know how it was received because I wasn't there.
Yes, that's, yes. You mentioned that you're working on a Chakma language historical fiction. I'm very curious about what that covers and how you've conceptualized that.
It's actually in a very early stage. What happened when we launched a book here in Australia, a book on Borforong, the Great Exodus. It's a narrative of the victims of Great Exodus. It was collected, those narratives were collected by Shomari Chakma in Bangla, Bangla. So we just, I think last year in September or October, sometime we launched it in Australia, in Sydney. And yes, September, because in August, we actually showed it in International Day of Indigenous Peoples in August. And in September, we did another exposure to it, launching of the book in Australia. And there came one of the participants there. She said she has some stories to tell about the Great Exodus as a mother visiting, here. And she told a story about a girl whose name she didn't know, but she knows that what they used to call her is Kinebi, the bought one. The bought one. It really struck me. I didn't know how desperate was the situation of that time. That after the Kaptai Dam's devastation and people were leaving, and we know that people left, and my own family from my parents' side, both are refugees of Borporo. Okay, but because we were born after the after that event, we didn't know actually what happened. And people didn't talk about it. They were so sad. They didn't even want to express what happened. So we actually didn't know much about it. Nobody wrote about it, and people didn't want to discuss about it. It was too hurtful for them. And then I think it really struck me, but she couldn't tell us what happened, why she was the bought one. But because, they were young and they used to tease her as, call her Hinebi. And she used to tell the kids, her friends, please don't call me Hinebi. I have my name. And I asked that lady, what was her name? She said, I don't know. And we were just, like insensitive children. We just called her Hinebi. And also like to tease her Kinebi because she used to be, upset. And after that, they moved away from that place as well, because they're all, refugees going from this place to that place, and that, particular place they go, and the water comes up and they go to another place. So they were moving from place to place, even within Chittagong Hill Tracts. And then she became disconnected with that person, and she doesn't know what happened or what it is. But that Kinebi character keep on, annoying me. She keeps on, poking me all the time. And I thought, no, I have to write something about her. And I have seen three sisters, actually two sisters, growing up together. They were left by the father because the mother died at that time of when the water was coming, water, and he was so devastated with three daughters, and from a poor family. I don't think he had like many families. So finally, what he did, he left the daughters in the village, so the villagers will look after them, thinking of that, and he left for India. Okay, and those girls actually finally came to my great-grandfather's family. So, and two of them stayed with my, my relatives, and another one lived with other relatives. So, but we also became disconnected with them. So I could, imagine their life and see. And I think, Kinebi must have life like that too, So, and it's a difficult journey, actually. Difficult journey in one way that in the beginning, I thought of writing it in English. Then I thought, no, I'm going to write it in Bangla. But then finally I thought, no, it's a challenge for me. And I'm going to take the, greatest challenge, father challenge. I'm going to write it in Chakma. And probably you don't know that we don't have, Chakma fiction. It's rare.
Right.
Rare I have to tell you, in 1993, Akhtaruজ্জামান Ilyas actually wrote an essay, Chakma Upannash Chai. We want Chakma literature. Chakma fiction, Upannash. Fiction.
Is that in his book of essays?
Yes, I'm not sure whether
I have that book. I will have to look it up.
Essays or not, but it was published in many other magazines, and like published, republished, and all kind of thing. And it came to me quite late, not in 1993. I didn't see it. I saw it later, but I can't remember exactly what time. But then there was still no literature. In 2003, one Chakma, what was his name? Just trying to remember. He wrote a book called Febo. Febo means, has got two meanings. It's a wild animal and also a scary time, the moment, scary moment sort of thing. And he was really, really brave to write in Chakma language using Chakma script.
So where would somebody in Bangladesh, how is this distributed? How, what's the readership, and where would, you find the poetry and prose that has come out?
We have, I think, in Chittagong Hill Tracts, yes, of course, the Chakmas, in Bangladesh, read them. And there is also readership in India. There have been Chakmas in both sides of the border before the this partition, and also before Chittagong Hill Tracts was made a district in 1860. So in that time also, these cartographic lines actually divided the Chakma population. So there are many in the, Mizoram area. Actually, some parts we learned that they were actually they were under Kalindi Rani's domain, you know, so one of the Chakma queen, and a regnant queen actually. She reigned, you know, the other queens are just wife and of the Rajas, but this Kalindi Rani, she was a regnant queen, and it was under her territory, some part of that, and they used to pay tax to Kalindi Rani, but with the, you know, with the British creation of new, you know, Chittagong Hill Tracts, so that part also got divided. So we have Chakmas in that side, and also Chakmas in Burma as well, you know, in that part, and plus on the Rakhine state.
Right.
You know, that's just so there are some readership too, but and also in Tripura and Assam, yeah, kind of. So this, and of course, you know, like diaspora, Chakma diaspora now everywhere, global diaspora. You know, I am one of them. I read a lot of Chakma in the, you know, writings. Yeah.
So among, say, Bengalis, is there much of that happening, and how does that get distributed? And what's, you know, your relationship with, you know, the Bangla literary culture establishment? You know, is there, you know, generosity? Is there tension? Is there, I mean, what's the kind of relationship, you know, that exists? Because I had mentioned to you that I had been to a panel at the Hay Festival in 2012, where there was, you know, a very sorry panel on the literatures outside, you know, Bangla and English, and, you know, hardly anybody came, and it just seemed reflective of a kind of, you know, neglect, lack of interest by, you know, the majority population, yeah. And people there from that. So could you speak to that?
It is very difficult to actually even to estimate how many people actually read literature coming out of CHT, because for my own experience, I don't even know how many copies of the book of poem Jolino Dimitte or Rukhe Darabona Kano were published. And but there are actually people ask me for the books whenever they have a chance, you know, and I don't have any copies except my copy or so. And I think it's out of publication now. They're like out of print now. I mean, they don't have any new books or anything. So it's pretty difficult to see how many people actually read. But there are also, like, you know, neglect and generosity, I think I have to say, because I have been following. I wouldn't tell that it's from the mainstream media or mainstream scholarships. It's coming, and it's coming, but rare. You know, like in 2014 there was there's an article, Shomokol article. I just got, I think, access to it recently, by Afsar Ahmed. He worked on kind of, it's an article on Chakma language and literature. So it's interesting, you know, Dr. Afsar Ahmed from Jahangirnagar University. So, and one of the Chakma fiction, actually, a novel written by Shamal Boddo from Tripura, based on Kalindi Rani, you know, the queen I mentioned about she was the actually last monarch in whose time there was, I think, people were not under colony, okay, British colony. In her time, that 1860, that British, you know, like annexed Chittagong Hill Tracts. That was under 100 years of Bengal Chittagong, annexation of Chittagong, because there were resistance from Chakma. They were, yeah, but yeah, 17 years or kind of resistance, actually armed resistance against the British. So, and finally British actually, took it over, Chittagong Hill Tracts, very slowly through peace treaty and later by, many means. So yes, and Chakma Duhita, okay. It was staged in Jahangirnagar University's, I think, Department of Drama. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and, there are actors from, from Chakma, Bengali, everybody, all the students, they have, participated in, and of course they enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And not only that, with the Jum Aesthetic Council, there have been good collaboration, with Arunok Nattudo, Dhaka Theatre. They have been doing, work together, mm-hmm. particularly in the sphere of drama.
Shaheen's recent story that you translated is one of the few that's set in the Hill Tracts and involves a story of people from the Hill Tracts and Rangamati. So could you speak to that?
Yes, your observation is correct, I think. Cultures of Chittagong Hill Tracts or other indigenous peoples are still marginalized in Bangladesh, in mainstream cultural practices. It's not visible. Mm-hmm. Of course, not visible, and sometimes it's appropriated too. Mm-hmm. This Chakma or Tripura Gora and Nritya will be danced by Bengali dancers or Manipuri dance, or Chakma dance. So it's a kind of, there is an appropriation too. Those are to be questioned in some time. Yeah, we haven't questioned anything yet, all those things. And not only it's not only marginalized, and also when it is presented, it is taken by the Bengali people, not by the indigenous peoples themselves. Mm-hmm. It also happened. It's not uncommon either. And when I look at, I said, talk about this, I think that's 2012 Hay Festival is the first time that there was an inclusion of other languages. Mm-hmm. I know that because one of my poem was read in that mm-hmm. festival, because this they have the presenters have contact me for that, the piece of poem, because they couldn't find the book anywhere. Right. So so the Bangla version the Chakma version and the English version was read in that festival.
And has that continued since then?
I have no idea. That was the first time I got contact, 2012, right. And then I don't know what happened. And yes, I don't know actually whether, I think it has changed, Dhaka Literary Festival or something. It has changed too. And I have seen that aversion even in that from, Bangladeshi communities, like that there are some I read somewhere that there's some comments, allegation against Bangla Academy bringing English literature. So, it's erasing Bangla.
Whole tension,
Yes, so these tensions are there. And although this Bangla is already an established language, and it's not that we should stop Bangla. That means, it has got so much to offer, so much to give, and it enriched us all, Bangla literature. But, and also like Bangladesh has a, great history for fighting for mother tongue, 21 February. Mm-hmm. And it is now recognized globally, but have we done that struggle for mother tongue for other people? So than Bengalis, even, like when you talking about even identity, when Bangla has translated tribal as, upajati, sub-nation, and in English, tribal is not a sub-nation. Right. So it's actually that colonial mind, that has got into the people who are practicing Bangla language. That is very, very sad. How can you, and question of Upajati, okay, if we are Upajati, is Chakma somehow, branch of Bengalis, or Garo is a branch of Bengalis, or Mro is a branch of Bengalis? It's a, like, question, or Shantal. But on the other way, I could actually say Shantal could be, Shantals could be, predecessors of what we have now in Bangladesh, the people. That could be more, I think, plausible to imagine, or, to suggest, to bring a suggestion kind of thing. But and so you can see that when, language is not, even for identity, when you call people as sub-nation,
right,
you don't actually respect them.
No.
Neither do you respect with the word Kudronir Goshti. It's a belittling of people, and thinking of, I'm the Brihot, I'm the great one. Of course, this kind of things, when it comes in your literature, it comes in your policies, it comes into, it actually goes everywhere.
So in terms of being a writer, social activist, if there were, say, 5 things or 3 things that you would really like to see change, in terms of social and institutional opening and receptivity and support for Chakma literature, what would you want to see?
Okay. I will say, like, not only Chakma literature, for also other literature.
Yes.
I would like to see the similar thing happening. Yes. It's very difficult, 5 only.
No,
anyway,
I just said 5.
let's try that way.
Okay.
It will be, I think, it's really a dream come true if we have this language institutionalized in education, and to also bring to, in higher studies, like a language department. Okay, so people can learn different language and write in different languages. That will be, it's very, like, to bring that level. Of course, there are so many levels of work has to be done. So I'm looking at the, like, hoping the highest level, so that other works will be done, which I don't have to mention. And to, to bring literature, I think it's need, we need kind of what I will say that you need inspiration, you need not only finance, but inspiration, like, so, like Bangla Academy has, awards for the writers. So we have so many departments in the government departments, let's say the Ministry of Culture, or Ministry of CHT Affairs, and other related, culturally related ministries can, devise policies to for awards, for, like, for different like work, not only for literature, art, culture, all these other areas. So if there is recognition, people will work on it, and to give space to, publish those work. People, I know many people, very brilliant work, they haven't been published yet. My own grandfather's work was never published, and they got burnt, like in this CH2 war. undeclared war and internal struggle. So many houses were burnt, and they were in our home library, got burnt. My grandfather's work, they were never published, so we don't know. And nobody kept a copy, you know, this one copy is gone. And so if there are some, you know, awards for this literature, you know, of other language or song of other language or anything that will be, you know, it's a big thing. Not only that, so say for Bangla itself, even, you know, people actually, indigenous or non-Bengali people are practicing Bangla literature. You know, there are, they got award. There are some awards, you know, in 1973, Chakma Jatir Itibritto, one of the historical work, actually got awarded by the Bangladesh Itihash Porishad. So, you know, like, and then Prabhangshu Tripura, he got this Ekushe Padok recently, I think 2014 or so, for his research work in Bangla. Okay, but not in other languages.
Right.
So Shobha Rani Tripura, she got Ekushe, no, not Ekushe, sorry, Begum Rokeya Padok. Okay, Begum Rokeya Award for writing literature in Bangla. Okay, and her husband also got Ekushe Padok. I think Prabhangshu Tripura got, Bangla Academy Award, sorry, Prabhangshu Tripura Bangla Academy Academy Award for research, you know, on indigenous peoples and in writing in Bangla. So, you know, people are actually receiving, you know, like getting recognition for writing in Bangla, but not writing in their own languages. So it's not that we don't have talents. I think we have talents. And it is time to bring those, you know, cultural and diversity that we haven't explored yet. The Bangladesh has such great, rich, you know, work, even traditional to modern, you know, work, and not only art, culture, and literature. So these are very important to bring, you know, to the audience of Bangladesh. We can translate it, not only that, also in the global scene, you know, and this diversity is multi-language of Bangladesh and multicultural, you know, exposure to all the culture, lifestyle, everything that comes into literature. Those will be unique, you know, to present to global audience. And I think Bangladesh has got such a big possibility to take that position, not only with this language Ekushe February movement and language movement and Ekushe February, on also with its like diverse languages and literature to come into world scene.
I did want to say that I wanted to, you know, to end with you reading, you know, your poem, a poem of yours in Chakma and maybe a piece in Bangla or maybe in English, just so, you know.
First I will read it in Chakma, then I will read it in Bangla, and I will read English translation, which is done by Glenn Hill. And this poem actually was translated by Meghna Guha Thakurata and our brilliant writer, academic, and activist, and also by Shohidul Alam, our you know, distinguished photographer, journalist. Yeah, but I will choose this one by Glenn Hill. Yes. Joli Nodim Hitte, Rukhe Darabo na Keno. And in English, it's why shouldn't I be the fire? Joli Nodim Hitte. Joli Nodim Hitte, Jian Forane Hoi Sien Goribe, Bozottan Banebe Biran Bumi, Jaran Banebe Morubumi, Gabur Belore Saj, Soroj Milere Baj. Joli Nodim Hitte, Jian Forane Hoi Sien Goribe, Jon Mofumot Manuch Bundi, Milere Hinne Dashi Bandi, ফররে হানা সৃষ্টিরে বানা অবহেলা অপমানে ক্রোধ বিদিরে থুবুল লোর স্রোত পাত্তর হুনি হুনি ভাঙা বিঘ্ন চেতনার সাগর রণ তীক্ষ্ণ মর পরিপূরক গায় মুই জলি নওদিম হিত্তে রুখে দাঁড়াবো না কেন রুখে দাঁড়াবো না কেন যা ইচ্ছে তাই করবে বসত বিরান ভূমি নিবিড় অরণ্য মরুভূমি সকালকে সন্ধ্যা ফলবতীকে বন্ধা রুখে দাঁড়াবো না কেন যা ইচ্ছে তাই করবে জন্মভূমি পরবাসী নারীকে কৃতদাসী দৃষ্টিকে অন্ধ সৃষ্টিকে বন্ধ অবহেলা অপমানে ক্রোধ ধমনীতে তুমুল রক্তের স্রোত আঘাতে আঘাতে ভাঙে বিঘ্ন চেতনার সমুদ্র তারুণ্যে তীক্ষ্ণ আমার সম্পূরক একমাত্র আমি রুখে দাঁড়াবো না কেন Why shouldn't I be the fire? Why shouldn't I be the fire? You do whatever you want. Turn homes to homelessness, forest to desert, the young son of morning to the dying son of evening, the fertile earth, the mother to barrenness. Why shouldn't I be the fire? You do whatever you want. Imprisoned in our homeland, women are slaves, seeing is blinded, creation is halted. But from humiliation grows anger, blood courses quickly, barriers are pounded, consciousness is inflamed. No one can stand in my place. I must be the fire. Thanks.
Thank you.